Ryne Sandberg did everything gracefully.
Yeah.
Fielding his position, batting and hitting the ball to right center. And then the way he fought cancer, he did everything with grace and style and class. And he was the epitome of respect. And that was the basis and theme of his Hall of Fame speech, respect. Respect the game, respect your family, respect your teammates, and respect yourself. And Ryne Sandberg was just the easiest hero to idolize. And he was my favorite player as a kid growing up. Wanted to be like him. And the reluctant kind of hero, the humble superstar, the guy who never wanted the attention that he certainly deserved. Modern day Mr. Cub, stepped into the spotlight kind of gradually, kind of reluctantly, but he was there. And when he was there, he did it responsibly. And it was such a thrill to sit next to him, as I said, work with him. Game 3 of the World Series and that weekend working for CSN Chicago, being on the field with Ryne Sandberg before Cubs World Series games pinch me. I don't have a lot of those moments in my career, been fortunate, but that was the one at the top because it was Ryne Sandberg, one of the best players in Chicago baseball history. You got to put him up there with Ernie Banks. He's up there with Frank Thomas. Never saw Luke Appling play, but I'll give him his respect based on the numbers. But those are the guys that come to mind when you're making a list of the best baseball players in Chicago history. Ryne Sandberg is in the top 4. Whatever order you want to put them, he put himself at the top of everybody's list of all-time Cubs, and certainly one of the best all-time second basemen ever.
In our business, you were lucky enough to kind of interact with the guy, and I had a moment with him one time. This is years and years ago, where he asked to borrow a pen, and I supplied him with a pen, and I was like, wow, I just gave Ryne Sandberg a pen. And he handed it back to me and thanked me fairly profusely, like almost like it was like, oh my God, are you kidding? Like, take that pen. Like, it was just a moment that you have with people throughout the course of a day, only it was with this Hall of Fame player and, you know, a guy you remember seeing when you're a kid. And it's just the guy was just a great person, and you had this little interaction with him. That kind of is where my mind would go to, just because it's not often that happens, and you get kind of a kick out of it. And he's I mean, were there ever there? I don't know how many. It's hard to put a number on it because he was so much only with the one team his whole career. So you kind of, that takes him to a different level, right? I mean, it's almost like, you know, an Ernie Banks, Billy Williams kind of thing where you know, I don't even know how to register how good the player is versus other players from different eras. Do you see what I'm saying? I think it's just really hard. Like, I think Frank Thomas is probably the best White Sox player that I ever saw live. And while I'm sure I saw Ernie Banks and Billy Williams when I was a kid, I don't really have any memory of that. I certainly remember being at Cubs games and seeing Ryne Sandberg play. So he might have been the best Cubs player I ever saw live. It's a really difficult one to come up with, but he's on the Mount Rushmore for sure.
This guy did it with style, grace. He was just a pleasure to watch. No controversies, no issues off the field. The man truly loved the game, and I loved watching him play. Rest in peace, Rhino, and to the Sandberg family, my condolences, but I can tell you this. I know Les Grobstein is standing at the pearly gates with the cassette and the microphone ready to do the interview.
Thanks, John.
I used to work at a little sports store back when I was going to college at Columbia College. I was working at a little radio station in Kankakee, and I was, we used to get, guys to sign autographs, and Ryne Sandberg was one of them. And this nice young lady and she was, well, not young, but anyways, I will make it short, put sweet. She goes, "Where's Ryne Sandberg? Aren't you the limo driver? Aren't you the limo?" I said, "No, ma'am. He's going to be here." And as he walked in, the lady just almost cried, and he signed an autograph for her, and she walked away crying. And that's a true story. And I can't believe, she goes, "Aren't you the limo driver?" She's screaming at me. I'm like, "No, ma'am, calm down, calm down. He's going to be walking in right now." And you know what? He signed an autograph for her and made her day, and just made my day too. And that was the best thing ever happened to me, almost.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah,
that's great.
Good memory, and that he had that effect on many fans that came across him, and he was always gracious with his time. Never saw him, whether it was, and we would be around him at times where, whether it was at a remote or even at the ballpark. And the last time I think that I saw him in that kind of environment was the statue unveiling in June of 2024.
Yep.
And always had time for everyone. And so that was the way you handle yourself when you get in situations that can seem, that somebody is reacting in a way that is, I don't want to say hysterical, but he ran into people that were like, definitely they lost their composure when they would meet him.
Oh, yeah.
And he had a knack for putting people at ease.
18 years ago, one of the best days of my life, my son was born, and I thought, I gotta. So his name is Ryne. He actually loved baseball, but he's a little bigger, so he's going to play college football next year, so hopefully he can carry on the name. But, I didn't name him Ryne just because he was a great athlete. I named him Ryne because I just wanted him, that work ethic and just the way he carried himself was just phenomenal. And being up here in Wisconsin as a Cub fan, obviously yesterday during the game, I'm going back and forth with a bunch of guys. When it was announced, all my buddies that are Brewer fans, every single one of them, I'll just give you the one quote that I thought was the best. "Never a Cub guy, always a Rhino guy." Class act.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks,
guys.
To what degree was your son aware of Ryne Sandberg?
He did. My son is so proud to be, like yesterday he went to the game, wore a Ryne Sandberg jersey. He's got the Ryne Sandberg hat with the Rhino on it. He just absolutely, that's his all-time favorite player, and he was too young to ever watch him. So, with YouTube and all that stuff now, he knows as much about him as anybody, so it's pretty cool. And like I said, I'm not one of those guys that just, he's a great athlete, I'm going to name him after him. No, I named him after him because I think, to me, he seemed like just a great man, so that's why I named him.
Thanks,
Ryne,
Guy.
so.
Yeah, thanks, Guy.
Great memory. Thanks for the phone call. A lot of people sharing their own experiences through the prism of what it meant to be a Ryne Sandberg fan. Yeah, everyone has their own little interaction. We had a good interview with him about a year ago.
Yeah.
I think that was the last time we got a chance to really probably visit with him in a fuller form, and that was
it was great.
We had an Arnie Harris connection at my school. He came to our school, talked to us like it was his job, like it was one of his job. Like he really enjoyed it. Gave us a piece of advice that I'd never forgotten. I still impart to kids. He said, "Less than 2 strikes, get your pitch, one spot. 2 strikes, you have explode your swinging." So, and then the second story I have is all my friends, when we went by the old Sport Mart on LaSalle,
right,
there was a mural of him on the side of the building, and my friends used to run out and touch greatness and run back to the car.
That's hysterical.
That's great. Your brush with greatness.
Yeah, touch greatness.
You got to love that one.
That's a good story.
I used to work at a little sports store back when I was going to college at Columbia College. I was working at a little radio station in Kankakee, and I was we used to get guys to sign autographs, and Ryne Sandberg was one of them. And this nice young lady, and she was, well, not young, but anyways, I will make it short, put sweet. She goes, "Where's Ryne Sandberg? Aren't you the limo driver? Aren't you the limo?" I said, "No, ma'am. He's going to be here." And as he walked in, the lady just almost cried, and he signed an autograph for her, and she walked away crying. And that's a true story. And I can't believe, she goes, "Aren't you the limo driver?" She's screaming at me. I'm like, No, ma'am. Calm down. Calm down. He's going to be walking in right now. And you know what? He signed an autograph for her and made her day and just made my day, too. And that was the best thing ever happened to me, almost.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah,
that's great.
Good memory, and that he had that effect on many fans that came across him, and he was always gracious with his time. Never saw him, whether it was, and we would be around him at times where, whether it was at a remote or even at the ballpark. And the last time I think that I saw him in that kind of environment was the statue unveiling in June of 2024.
Yep.
And always had time for everyone. And so that was the way you handle yourself when you get in situations that can seem, that somebody is reacting in a way that is, I don't want to say hysterical, but he ran into people that were like, definitely they lost their composure when they meet him.
Oh yeah.
And he had a knack for putting people at ease.
He was one of the few guys I can say that didn't change much over the nearly 50 years I knew him. Just the same demeanor, same overall kind of outlook on life. We shared a belief in God and a belief that your dreams can come true, and then go out and work hard. And being alongside him, that's exactly what he demonstrated. And I was a pretty lucky guy to have him in a 2-hole. Let's start with that. He was a tremendous teammate in baseball terms. We talked mostly that way, but I can tell you, on the many bus rides in the minor leagues and hours on the road, and we shared music. That was kind of one thing that sticks out. We may not speak a lot on a 10-hour bus ride, but we'd go through, CD after CD of music that we shared, and he was just one of those guys that, although he was quiet, if you knew him in a backstage sort of way, he was far from quiet. He liked to talk baseball, and he had a great sense of humor as well. I was so grateful I got to be up there last Monday, throw out the first pitch with his uniform on, and sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," and feel like I'm right where I belong. On the way to Wrigley, I'll be up there tomorrow and Thursday doing some things, and he'll be sorely missed. I don't think I've quite had a teammate passing, and the feelings I'm having over the last 12 hours or so, quite like this news hit me. Rhino was kind of like a little brother to me, although not so little. and just a great friend and a teammate. Whenever we got together, it was always like we'd been together yesterday. So I'll miss him.
It's, part of your job. You just got to keep things going. But it was very difficult. And Rhino was so good to me. And just a flood of memories came back when I got the news last night. And if you remember, he stepped away from the game in 1994. He came back in 1996. 96 was my very first year working with Ron Santo on Cubs radio. So I was there when he made his comeback. I remember the first week, it was very cold at Wrigley, but he had a home run against the Dodgers, right center field. It got several rows back in there, and it was just great to call that home run. Ryne Sandberg is back. He's playing for the Cubs, just watching him play was a treat for me. The precision of his defense, the accuracy of his throws. If you read up on his career, there were entire seasons where he did not make a single throwing error, which is hard to believe. You play so many games, and he didn't miss many games. He was a gamer, but he was a machine defensively. I had memories of being on the Cubs caravan. I remember distinctly, it was a great memory, Billy Williams, Ryne Sandberg, and me. We're on a bus. It's in the middle of the winter, probably 1997 or 1998. We are out somewhere in Peoria or Springfield or wherever, and you're just killing time on the bus. But I said, Rhino, how did you ever hit those 2 home runs in one game against Bruce Sutter when nobody else was even close to hitting one? And it was almost scientific listening to him. He said, well, I noticed all my teammates were swinging and missing, and the ball was under their bat. So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure the ball is not under my bat. I'm going to make sure the bat is under the ball. And it made great sense. And then he said, I just kept my eye on the ball and put a little bit of an uppercut on it. And that's how I was able to do it. And he made it seem like it was something that anybody could have done, but he's the only one who actually did it. But those were some of the immediate memories that I had last night. And then a very special personal one